Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with something very special, Sweet Manhattan Stamps. This is a new release by them, and maybe you haven't heard of them, but it is an Etsy shop, and I will make sure everything is linked down below. But Sherry is having a beautiful mermaid release. You can just see these beautiful images. These are red rubber stamps. I am a huge fan of the red rubber. There is no image as a stamped image by red rubber. And you can see these images cross over between the two sets. They are simply called Mermaid, and it's set A and set B. She is also going to be offering these cases if you're looking for a way to store your red rubber. So just by taking it out, and the piece that is inside will fit nicely on the one side underneath the clips, and then these just adhere, the cling just adheres right onto the plastic onto the other side. So it's a really nice way to store them. But as I said, the detail in these images is just absolutely phenomenal, and Sherry is just a wonderful person and has become a very good friend of mine. So I was very honored when she reached out to me and asked if I would show her stamps, and I said, of course. So she also had found, this is another Etsy seller, and this company is called Digital Curio. Again, it'll be linked down below. And these are her metallic mermaid papers, digital papers that you can print down. They are beautiful. Now, there are a shine. These were printed by Sherry for me and sent to me, and I do apologize. These were received on the day of our tropical storm. So this poor package, I was surprised, didn't go down the street with all the water that we received. So your papers, of course, would not look like that. All right. They did get a little bit of warped onto it, but they are still beautiful. So you can see at the top there, I've cut some of them down. I've got some panels going. And what I want to show you with the first two cards that I do is, one of the things that I love about red rubber, as I said before, is the detail. There is nothing like the detail that you get from a red rubber stamp. It's just meticulous, and it's beautiful. One of the things that I love to do with red rubber stamps are emboss. Simply embossing these images, and these mermaids are just so majestic when it came to the details of them, that when you just simply emboss, it just brings that image to life. The embossing powder that I'm using the Antique Gold and the Antique Silver by Altenew. I do like those shades. They are not the typical gold. It is not the typical silver, of course, because it says antique. So there is a darkness to it, which is something that I do like. So I'm just stamping these images. I am coming off the paper just a little bit. And for this one, I did use the silver. So you can see they just come to life with it. Now, here I'm thinking, what do I want to do? So what I'm going to do is I have a piece of scrap paper here. And I'm just going to very simply, no precision in the stamping, but even still when I don't do that, the image is still gorgeous. I'm going to stamp these images out, kind of where I have them on the piece of cardstock that I embossed. So this isn't masking paper, but I do need to have the shape of this image. So what I'm actually doing is just generally stamping, and then I'm going to cut around it. I'm going to fussy cut around these images, but a little bit further out than what we would normally do that. Now, for this fussy cutting, it's very simple. For those of you that have seen my previous videos, you know I don't like to fussy cut. So I'm just taking very broad cutting strokes. I just want the sense of the image to come around this. Now, what I want to do is, now by doing this, you can create a lot of things. You can create your own shaker cards. You're going to be able to create your own dimension when it comes to these pieces. But what I wanted to do was highlight some of this pattern paper. And again, when she printed it down onto like a photo paper. So they're very vibrant. When you do print on photo paper, it does pull those colors right out. Now, for those of you, if you've seen my junk journal side, whenever I print down my digital prints, I put them right on copy paper. I never print them down on cardstock or photo paper. I love the look on the pattern paper. But these do give more of a vibrancy. So I'm lining up my pattern paper to this image. So I'm going to place that piece I just cut out over it. I'm close. I'm close to the area. I'm going to use a little bit of repositionable tape. And I'm going to then place my pattern paper on top. By doing that, now that piece is on the other side, and I'm going to trace around it. Then I'm going to cut around that side. So now I have that image cut out on the pattern paper. So now what I can do is I'm going to be able to lift that pattern paper up just to give it dimension, almost giving it like a spotlight in a way. So I'm going to carefully cut around that line, and then I'll be able to place that over my image. I will use my double-sided foam for this so that I can get that lift and that space on the card. And I will do that for both. And you can see it just frames it when it comes to that. So you get the beautiful detail from both your stamp and your pattern paper, and all you had to do was print down your pattern paper and emboss your image, and you have two beautiful note cards that can be used for any occasion. I had to pull out my toned blue mix media. This is the paper, whether it's toned blue, gray, or tan, this is the paper that I use for my colored pencils. It is my favorite for my colored pencils. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to stamp this image down into the center, and I'm using my Versamark ink, and I'm making sure I have a good impression. The embossing powder that I'm going to use now is the Translucent Pearl by Altenew. Now this has a beautiful sparkle to it when it comes to that image, and by using it on this gray, it's kind of a translucent embossing powder, so it goes gray. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. I am actually taping this right down onto my mat. I saw somebody else doing this in a YouTube video, and I thought it was absolutely fabulous. And I pulled out my Altenew metallic paints, my watercolors, and I am just going to watercolor this image, but only using the metallics. So I had a lot of fun with these because what I really was doing, I wanted to blend them. You know, while they were wet, I wanted to add in those other colors and see how they mixed so that I could get this blend of all of these beautiful metallics just going across these areas, whether it's the waves or I made that sun that's in back of her to make it look like a sunset as she's coming out. So you'll continue to see me just continue to add all of those colors. Now I did pull the image next to me so that I could see it. Again, so much detail in these stamps that sometimes just looking at the picture you'll be able to guide, okay, this is what this is, this is what this is. Sometimes when we stamp it and we're doing this detailed work, we kind of lose it. We kind of lose, okay, now wait a minute, what's this? Is this part of her flesh, or is this part of the scales, or is this part of the ocean? But by looking at the image again, you're able to see that. And you can see as I'm adding the darker colors, it's just blending beautifully within these. You can really see it in the waves and that sunset that is sitting behind her. I do keep building that up, and to blend it out a little bit more, I just add a little bit of water to my brush just to re-wet them and get them moving again and fade them out. For the tops of the waves, of course, I'm going to come in with the white or the opal and just add to make it look like that's the foam on top of the wave, and then skipping through the rest of the water as well. So using the metallics along with the embossed image, the image itself being embossed with that pearlescent, it just gives it a little bit more, I don't know, I guess I want to keep saying majestic to keep it flowing. And who doesn't like a lot of sparkle? I like sparkle. I don't like glitter, but I like sparkle. Glitter just gets everywhere. I'm just saying, it's really tough to clean. Not enough Swiffers. So for her scales, for her tail, I'm going to go with the deep reds and the purples when it comes to the bottom of those. And you can just see that image that's coming to life on this card. I'm adding a little bit of the red to her jewels that she is wearing on her arm between the reds and the golds for all of the jewelry that she is wearing. And then she has a strand of seaweed that's coming through as well. So I added some of the greens, and I'm going to do some more blends on that as well, just to add that difference there as well. I love the way the water looks too when you use it. It kind of gets all that metallic looking going on there, so you can see that just spinning up there. Before I started using my metallic watercolors, I do like to add water to them just so that they can soften up, so that I would be able to pick up the colors. For her hair, I'm going to use one of the darker golds, and then I will add some red hues to her hair as well, so that that will stand out against that sunset that she's coming up against. Now, one of the things as I was painting this, I'm like, I don't have a flesh. So I'm like, okay, this isn't good. I was not going to keep her toned blue, by all means. But I did, and was able to, with one of the with a couple of the colors that we have in this kit, was able to make a perfect flesh tone. And you'll see me mixing that. I am adding just some more deeper reds to that sun. I really want that to be blended through just a little bit more. I'm adding some more gold now to her jewelry to bring that out. And you can see I'm just mixing the white with that. It's not like a rose gold. Oh, I forget the color of it, but it's like a champagne. So just mix those two together, and I thought that just gave the perfect flesh tone color for her, and just added a dab of the bright gold to bring that in. And once I added that, she just absolutely came right to life with it. I actually fell in love with this panel. I think it is gorgeous, and the metallics just really help to have that even going across. I grabbed my Versamark ink pad, and I'm going around the edges because I'm going to add more of that embossing powder that I embossed her with by Altenew, just to give it a small frame that's going around her. And I'm just going to sprinkle that on, and then we will heat set that. So it's just a little bit, just to give it a hint. Excuse me. That comes all around. I am in love with this mirror paper, the iridescent, or whatever we want to call it, the holographic, I believe. So I have learned to savor my papers and cut out the center so that I can use that piece for something else. So I'm just using one of my metal rulers and my craft knife, and I'm just cut a rectangle out from the center. And now I have this frame, so when I set this on top of that, I will have that border as well. I'm going to set this down onto my my standard A2 size card bases, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is now a side folding. So you can see the difference in the images that we can create using these stamps. Again, they stand alone. They only need to be embossed, but you can do some beautiful colorings using your favorite medium, whether it is colored pencils, whether it is watercolors or alcohol markers, or anything you choose. Just make sure that you do enjoy. I hope you enjoyed these projects. And again, I will have the link down to Sweet Manhattan Stamps. She has some beautiful stamps. Wait till you see the butterflies that she has. I do encourage you to check her out. And of course, I will link to the beautiful papers as well if you're interested in them. I mean, even then you can just see they're just glistening. So it looks like you have some sequins on there. So if you should have any questions, please make sure you leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell so that you know when the next video is ready for you to watch. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, time out of your day, time maybe away from your family, or maybe that's a good thing. I'm not quite sure. But please continue to stay safe and healthy. Enjoy your day, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative. Till next time, guys.